All right, so for a long time now, we've been watching this grand philosophical stalemate, right? A kind of Cold War of ideas. Well, that entire game board is about to be flipped over by a brand new piece. A force so unpredictable, it's less like a player and more like a force of nature. You know that authentic silence we talked about? Well, it's gone. What's left is this gray wasteland, which has become a battlefield. You've got these two massive competing monuments just staring each other down, locked in this tense, seemingly endless standoff. You can just feel the tension in the air. So, to really get a grip on this huge shift, we're going to walk through it in four parts. First, we'll look at the Great Stalemate. Then, we'll see the crack of lightning that just shatters everything. After that, we'll dive into the Jester's inverted gospel. And finally, we'll explore the aftermath in the New Reckoning. Okay, first things first, we really need to understand the two powers that are locked in this Cold War. It's a struggle that feels almost predictable, but that doesn't make it any less epic. It's creation versus negation, will versus sheer exhaustion. So here are the two sides of the coin. Over in Neo Arcadia, you've got Wotan, the creator. They call him a homeless sovereign, and his entire being is driven by this powerful, passionate will to create. Then, on the other side, sitting in his Tower of Inferno, you've got Mephistopheles, the Watcher. His weapon isn't action, it's stagnation itself, this God-sized cage. He's just waiting, betting that Wotan's creative fire will eventually just burn itself out. And there's another figure lurking in the shadows here. Faustus, the Carrion King. He isn't really fighting. He's just placing his bet on what's called the exhausting repetition of existence. He's convinced it will finally crush Wotan's will, and then he can swoop in and pick over the remains. But this whole predictable two-player game is about to come to a screeching halt. And I mean abruptly, violently. This stagnant pond is about to get hit by something that comes from completely outside the rules of the game. And that's the whole point, really. The old rules, they just don't apply anymore. The board itself has been shattered. This whole conflict between the creator and the tempter, it's about to become totally irrelevant. What's coming isn't another monument. It's not another argument. It's a force of nature. It's an event. It's a lightning bolt that just rips through that gray wasteland and completely changes the landscape of the battle. And here he is, the Jester. Now, he's not a god or a devil in the way we usually think of them. He's described as an atavistic force, something ancient and primal, bubbling up from the scariest depths of humanity itself. He's the mountain man of self-love, a walking, talking conflagration of just radical creation. Now, what's so wild is the Jester doesn't just enter the fight. He brings an entirely new philosophy with him, a kind of inverted gospel that acts like a hammer to the very foundations of this old world. And this is his opening line, "Woe to the full and the comfortable." Wow. His first words aren't a direct challenge to Wotan or Mephistopheles. Nope. They're a declaration of war on stagnation itself, on ease, on the very comfort that Mephistopheles was using as a weapon. His whole method is just fascinating. He doesn't bother building his own monument. Instead, he holds up this dangerous and grinning mirror to the old powers. He starts issuing what are called inverted beatitudes, basically flipping morality on its head to bless the lonely and the despisers. And he totally reframes the entire quest for the Overman, turning it from some distant prize into a terrifying abyss that you have to cross. The core of his power, his whole philosophy really, is this concept, amor fati. It means love of one's fate. And this is the great commandment of self-love. We're not talking about passive acceptance here. This is an active, passionate love for your entire destiny. All the suffering, all the joy. And this is his ultimate weapon against the exhaustion Mephistopheles was betting on. I mean, think about it. How can you get exhausted by your fate if you genuinely love it? So all of this brings us to our final section, the New Reckoning. With the Jester's arrival, the ongoing proof has now officially entered what the source material calls its most poisonous and beautiful phase. This right here, this is the fundamental shift. Wotan, in his glorious isolation, he was looking for a successor, right? An heir? The Jester? He couldn't be less interested in being an heir. He is searching for equals, for fellow creators who can also stand up to the lightning of existence.
And so the old conflict is just gone. It's been replaced by these new themes. You've got the hammer of inverted beatitudes just smashing old values. You have amor fati being used as a weapon against despair. And most importantly, you have this search for fellow creators, a huge shift from a lone king to a potential company of sovereigns.
This quote just nails the sheer scale of the disruption. The gesture is like a walking mountain. He's not trying to convince anybody of anything. His mere existence, the weight of his steps, just shatters the comfortable world below. He doesn't argue with reality, he remakes it just by walking through it. And that leaves us with the ultimate question of this whole new era. With this search for fellow creators, what actually happens when these sovereign beings finally meet? Can they coexist? Maybe create a whole new pantheon? Or is their fundamental nature, their will to power, destined to lead them into some kind of catastrophic, cosmic horror collision? That is the grand and, frankly, terrifying question of this new reckoning.